You're so done. Can you do this more efficiently? It's frustrating just watching you. Michelle's words stung. Her harassment of my sister-in-law, Michelle, grew worse every day, even starting to affect my ability to work from home. But I didn't let it break me, because there was a job I really wanted to finish. My name is Amanda Smith. I'm 29 years old, and I work as a contract employee at a company. I live simply with my dad and help him with the household chores. My dad worked hard all his life, raising me alone, and I wanted to ease his burden a little. When I was in elementary school, Dad put his big hand on my head and said, "You don't have to try so hard with the housework. Use your time how you like. That makes me happier." Dad was always kind, no matter how tired he was, and I secretly wished he would be happy too. A few years ago, my wish came true when Dad married a woman named Barbara. She was honest, kind, and wonderful, but her daughter, Michelle, was very different, proud and sneaky. At first, Michelle seemed quiet, but soon enough, her true nature showed. One day, I made lunch for everyone as usual. Even though Barbara was away on a business trip, Michelle, who was supposed to be at college, had no lectures that day. I thought it would be nice to prepare her lunch before she woke up. I didn't mind taking care of the house while working from home. It helped me relax. Barbara, my stepmother, said she felt bad that I did everything, but I told her I didn't mind. When Michelle finally came downstairs, I greeted her, saying, "Good morning, breakfast is ready, and your lunch is on the table." Michelle looked confused and said, "I'm not going to college today." I was surprised. "But your calendar said you had lectures," I said. She replied, "They were rescheduled later." I updated the calendar. "Didn't you see it?" I felt guilty for not checking the calendar, as we had started writing everything down there to avoid confusion. Michelle sighed and muttered, "You're really clumsy." Before going back upstairs, I didn't take it personally. I figured she was just cranky from waking up. 2 weeks later, after days of heavy rain, the weather cleared up on a sunny Saturday. I was hanging laundry when I noticed Michelle getting up late. She rushed downstairs and asked loudly, "Where's my skirt?" I was confused. "The one in the laundry basket," I asked. "No, the one I told you to wash separately," she snapped. I explained, "I mended it last night and it's in the washer now." But Michelle didn't listen. "What? Didn't you hear me? I needed it today," she shouted. I was caught off guard. She had indeed asked me to wash it separately, but she didn't say she needed it today. I remembered she had told me 2 nights ago that she needed it by next Saturday. Michelle clearly wasn't paying attention, but instead of arguing, I apologized, saying, "Sorry, I misunderstood the date." Her response was cold. She glared at me and said, "Apologizing doesn't fix everything. This is why I can't stand dumb people. A high school graduate like you is unbearable. You can't even manage household things properly." Michelle went to an elite university, and our lives were so different. I hoped we could get along since we were family now. But Michelle didn't seem to see me that way. She smiled mockingly and said, "Just to be clear, I never thought of you as family." Her words were harsh, and the tension between us grew. Seeing Michelle's expression, I felt an eerie chill. From that day, her dislike for me became more obvious in her actions. Whenever I worked from home, Michelle blared loud music from her room. It was so loud it disturbed not only me but also the neighbors. I timidly asked her to lower the volume. Worried about complaints, she snapped back, "Don't boss me around. I'm annoyed by the sound of your typing." Then, she slammed the door in my face. Another day, Michelle brought her friend home and said loudly, "Isn't it embarrassing having a high school graduate sister who can't even get a decent job? I wish she'd move out soon." One of her friends, joking as they laughed, "Ted, sorry for disturbing you. Michelle feels sorry for you. Please move out soon." They all laughed as they walked past my door. These things always happened when our parents weren't around. But when Dad and Barbara were home, Michelle acted like a perfect sister, being sweet and friendly to me. Before long, Michelle graduated from university and landed a job at a big company. Within a year, she got engaged to her boss. By then, I had moved out and was living on my own. Finally free from her constant harassment, I began to have a peaceful life again. Then one day, I received an invitation to Michelle's wedding. It was going to be held overseas. I saw it and set the invitation on the table. 3 months later, I was on a plane from Los Angeles to France. Since moving out, I had distanced myself from my family. I was concerned about Dad, but Barbara was there with him. Without me, Michelle wouldn't cause trouble at home. I wanted to avoid conflicts for Dad's sake, so I decided to keep my distance from Michelle and minimize visits to my family. When I moved out, I told Dad and Barbara I was focusing on my career. They were surprised but respected my decision. They told me to do what was best for me and encouraged me to pursue my dreams. The night before Michelle's wedding, I was in my hotel room, preparing for the next day. While checking my dress and belongings, my phone rang. It was Michelle. I felt a bad feeling immediately. Hesitantly, I answered. "Hey, it's been a long time. Where are you right now?" she asked. In a hotel in Paris," I replied. There was a brief silence, then she laughed. "Really? You're so stupid. How crazy can you be?" she said. "What do you mean?" I asked, confused. "The overseas wedding was a lie," Michelle revealed. "I fooled you. I'll send a real invitation later. Oh, and by the way, if you don't show up, I'll ruin something very dear to you." The call ended abruptly. I sat her down weakly on the bed. Michelle had played a cruel trick on me, and now she was threatening to ruin something important to me if I didn't attend. This could hurt not only me but also Dad and Barbara. Michelle could easily do something like that. My peace felt like it was falling apart. As long as Michelle and I were family, things would never change. I felt like I had to quietly follow her lead. But then, my thoughts suddenly stopped. Why did I leave home? Wasn't it to chase after my own dreams? I hadn't done that yet. Instead of feeling weak, I should work to change things. If I could find a way to stand up to Michelle, I would. I got out of bed and walked over to the window. Outside, the night in Paris was beautiful. Life is strange. Sometimes, when you feel lost, the way forward becomes clear. This was one of those times. I closed the curtains, turned off the light, and went to bed. The anxiety I had earlier was gone, replaced by a calm feeling. I slowly closed my eyes. I spent about a week in France, taking time to enjoy the sights. After that, I returned to this, feeling refreshed. I threw myself into work, forgetting to eat or sleep. I spent days glued to my computer, reading and typing non-stop. 2 months later, I visited a specific place. I walked down the main street near the station, entered a building, and got off the elevator on the 3rd floor. I knocked on the first door I came to. A soft voice invited me in. Inside, I had a thick file in my bag. It contained a lot of printed documents I had worked on. I was nervous as I touched the door handle, but I calmed myself down. It was time to move forward, no matter what happened. I stepped into the room. On the day of Michelle's wedding, I had called the venue to let them know I wouldn't be attending. Michelle probably thought I was underestimating her. She had always been proud, always needing to feel superior. But now, I understood that Michelle lacked something important, something I had but she didn't. At the wedding reception, everything seemed perfect. Stephen, Michelle's husband, was the son of a company president. The guests were important people, and Michelle was proud. Everyone was enjoying the food and performances when a man quietly spoke to Stephen. He told him something, and Stephen, looking serious, told Michelle, "Amanda isn't coming today. Did you know?" Michelle was surprised and looked around, confused. Some of the guests were whispering. It turned out that Amanda, who was me, had been on TV. The buzz started to grow. People were talking about a book I had translated. It was a foreign sci-fi novel, and the author had passed away years ago. The book was written by a famous scientist and was getting attention worldwide. People started discussing it, and some were talking about how it was trending on social media. Someone mentioned that the translator, Amanda Smith, had been on a show that day. Michelle immediately checked her phone. A search brought up my name, and an article read, "Historic Scientist's Posthumous Work Discovered, Interview with Translator Amanda Smith." At the wedding venue, people were talking about the news. Michelle's wedding ceremony soon ended, and she changed into her dress, to join her parents and Stephen's parents in the hallway. It was a tense moment. Michelle's father-in-law, Daniel, who was the head of a big corporation, spoke sternly. "This is such an embarrassment. We don't even know how to respond to all the questions from people." Michelle stood there, unsure how to react. I've had many meals with Michelle, but she never once mentioned her sister-in-law, Amanda. Were they on bad terms? I value family connections, so I tried to be understanding because Stephen seemed so in love with Michelle. But I've heard that some women at the company don't think highly of her. Do you think I'm unaware of everything? Finally, Daniel added, "You better fix this. Call Amanda right away and arrange a meeting. If you can't reach her, I'll consider the marriage null and void." For someone like Daniel, canceling the marriage was easy, but if it were called off after such a big ceremony, it would ruin Michelle's reputation. She would be too embarrassed to face her colleagues, and her friends would definitely mock her. Michelle's face went pale as she quickly grabbed her phone. She dialed Amanda's number multiple times, but it kept ringing without an answer. An automated voice told her the number wasn't responding. "Maybe she blocked you," suggested her father. "No way. Amanda must be busy." Michelle defended herself. "Not showing up to your own wedding is not normal unless something bad happened, especially for family. I don't want to cause more trouble in my house. A woman like you, always causing problems, isn't right for our family." Daniel added, "But the ceremony is over. Stephen, say something." Michelle looked at Stephen, hoping for support, but he turned away, refusing to look at her. In that moment, Michelle realized something. Her parents were silent, just watching her. They could have defended her, but they didn't say anything. "Man, it's not my fault." "Right, tell them it's not my fault," Michelle pleaded. Barbara, her mother, smiled a little ruefully and said, "Actually, I got a call from Amanda yesterday. She said she couldn't make it to the wedding for some personal reasons. It's a long story, but you'll understand soon. She asked for forgiveness this time. It's a big moment in her life." Michelle was shocked. "What do you mean you knew and didn't tell me?" Barbara nodded. "Yes, exactly. If I had told you, you would have interfered. After all the trouble you've caused, Amanda asked for a little understanding. She's a part of this family, and we decided to let it slide. This is a family matter." "Someone should speak up," someone else in the room said. But Daniel cut them off. "Don't address me by my name. Do you want to make me angrier?" Michelle stayed silent under Daniel's stern gaze. She had picked the wrong fight. She watched as Stephen and his parents walked away, and Michelle felt her defeat deeply. She finally understood how empty her life had become. After my TV appearance, I was having dinner with a friend at a fancy French restaurant. Across from me was Pamela, a calm and dignified older lady. I had chosen this place to celebrate, but I wondered if a more casual spot would have been better. "No, I'm really grateful," Pamela said. "It's my first time dining somewhere like this, so I'm a bit nervous." "I like your honesty. Just be yourself. I don't like formalities either. Enjoy the meal," Pamela said. Pamela was a French literature researcher, translator, and translation school teacher. She was also my mentor. I remembered finding an old Western book in my mom's things once. Dad said it was from an unknown source, and it seemed like a French novel. The pages had notes, showing Mom had read it many times. I remembered how Mom used to hum foreign songs while she cooked or did laundry, though it was so long ago that I couldn't remember clearly. Could those songs have been in French? I started reading the book little by little, using a dictionary to translate. I got lost in the world of the book and fell in love with the French language. I read more French books and translated my favorites. I got so absorbed that I lost track of time. As an adult, I started going to translation school in the evenings and weekends. One of my teachers noticed my skills and introduced me to translation work. I was excited because I could do it from home. At the same time, Dad decided to remarry, even with a bigger family. My work wasn't affected, except for the problems with Michelle. "I was surprised when you gave me a thick manuscript," Pamela said. "Your translation skills are at a professional level, and the novel has a unique world. I have been translating for years, but never felt fully satisfied with my work. It took time, but finishing it helped me grow mentally." "Yes, Translation is a battle with yourself. Each completed project feels like shedding a layer of skin. It's fascinating, I agreed. Pamela smiled warmly at my words. It's a blessing to have something in life that you can be passionate about. When I came back home after a long time, Barbara greeted me. Dad was still busy with work, coming home late like usual. I heard footsteps coming downstairs. Ah, you're finally awake. You have a part-time job today, Barbara asked. After the wedding was cancelled and Michelle quit her job, she had been staying at home. Barbara added, how long will you sulk? If you want to keep living like this, then fine. But if you want to start over, you need to leave this house. Worried about being kicked out, Michelle reluctantly started looking for part-time work and found a job as a grocery store clerk. As Michelle passed by the living room, she gave me a quick, awkward glance before rushing out the door. Amanda, you're going overseas for work, right? You mentioned a contract with a new author, Michelle asked. Yes, it looks like it's going to be finalized, but they want to meet in person, I replied. That's great. I'm glad your translation work is going well. Take care, and I look forward to the souvenirs, she said with an innocent smile. Pamela's smile made me smile too. Continuing to do what I love is enough for me, I thought. I realized it was that simple. My ability to become a translator was a gift from my mom, and it felt like a way to enjoy life to the fullest. On my way home from my parents' house, I passed by a dogwood tree. I stopped to look at it, seeing many buds waiting to bloom. I'm just getting started too, I thought, one flower at a time. The gentle spring breeze blew, and I continued on my way.